are ready for our spoiler review of the Book of Boba Fett. It was fantastic. I had a chance to watch it a little while ago. But before we get started and I'll talk to our guest for today, I just want to take this moment to do some little bit of house cleaning. Um, Starting on Friday, we're going to have an interview with Nate Melendez. We're going to have an interview with Nate Melendez. That's going to happen this Friday at 6 o'clock. We're going to be talking about his artwork. He's going to demonstrate some of his work as well as doing a giveaway. So look out for that one. Also, just announced right now for Monday, Valentine's Day, Jamal Eichel interview. I'm going to have a Jamal Eichel interview on Monday. Don't forget about our pull list for the week. It's already out now. You can go ahead and check it out. And it's with our partnership with Squiggy Dugout Comic Books. Squiggy's comic book shop is a fantastic shop. And right now they have a sale going on. So go check it out. You can get that sale. It's fantastic. It's great. Again, look out for it. Go to the shop. All that fun stuff that goes along with it. All right. And just again, another reminder for everybody that this Friday, we are going to have our interview with Nate Melendez, who's going to be showing us some of his covers. We're going to be talking about comic books and whatever else comes up our way. So without further ado, let's take this opportunity now to invite our guests in. I have a few guests here that we're going to all talk about the Book of Boba Fett. This is a spoiler-heavy review. Keep that in mind. It is a spoiler-heavy review. Okay, guys. Let's bring everybody in, starting with Andrew F. Rodriguez. Andrew, say what's up.
What's up? How you doing?
Luis Vasquez.
Hello.
Hey, everybody. Michael Grassy.
What's up?
And last but not least, we got one of the Mandalorians himself here.
This is the way.
This is the way, guys. Roberto's with us. Hey, guys, how's it going?
I know.
How's it going?
I mean,
oh, really good, man. Really, really good. Excited. Had to watch that show. Had to watch it. I pretty much binged it last night and then watched the 7th season. It was, oh my God, great.
I just finished watching it maybe about 30 minutes ago.
Same.
So
Yeah.
I finished.
Fresh.
Yeah,
Fresh.
fresh in my mind. I just saw that last episode. I personally speaking, without giving up too much away with the interview, because we are going to talk about each interview, each episode. I personally loved it. It was action heavy, which is something that was really nice, and it was. What was really great about it in particular was just the characters all involved in it in particular. Everybody had a moment, which was fantastic, and I love to talk about it. But I first want to talk to you guys for a minute, man. I'm gonna start off. I went with Andrew first, so I'm gonna go with Roberto second. Roberto, introduce yourself, guys.
Hey, how's it going? I've been a Star Wars fan my whole life. And I'm actually I recently moved, so I'm a stay-at-home dad as well. And so trying to raise the kids right. It was actually really cool watching this episode because this morning I watched it really super early, so I was with my 18-month-old, and he's actually there, and he made me he's actually, it was one of the rare times he actually sits and watch a show. So it was actually so good to caught his attention. And then he grabbed this little Galaxy of Adventures Boba Fett and brought it to me, But
That's what it's about, right? Star Wars is for the kids. That's it's at its heart. It was meant for the kids.
It's a generational thing, and I think that's the great thing. I could, you think about it, with something like this, Boba Fett is a character that spans generations. I remember watching the original films with my father, and now here I am,
talking about it.
Yeah, talking about it with my own kids, and
That's
they have
awesome.
their little grogus. It's awesome. It's just kind of that's something from the kind of late 70s, early 80s. It's so transcendental, connects to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to our next guy, Michael Grassy. Michael,
hey,
we've been chatting back and forth on this one, right? So
yes, we have.
Go ahead, man. Talk.
Well, just a quick introduction of myself. I'm an illustrator, animator, cartoon educator, and host of the podcast Getting To, which airs every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And I'm a Star Wars fan, since my childhood. I got my little Boba Fett right here. Got a few of my stuff here. I got my little R2 hangs out with me. And although he was a little heavy in this season, then my Razor Crest here. And I got tons and tons of other stuff. I keep on my desk and hang out with. I love it all. And to be honest, Boba Fett as a kid, favorite action figure. Everyone thought he was cool. He was in the film for like 30 seconds overall, but everyone loved him. And then you got to learn more about him later on in comics.
Yeah, we're definitely let's talk about that a little bit. But before we do that, let's get to our next guest here, Luis Vasquez.
Hello.
He's been waiting for this moment, hasn't he?
Oh no, yeah, I have. Listen, I'm ready to talk Star Wars. Like that's what is it? I used to be into pirates, and I still like pirates. Used to be into dinosaurs, but listen, I'm only 22 years old, and I only saw the prequel when I was growing up. And either way, even though there was some stuff about the prequels that not many people might not like, but nevertheless, it's Star Wars. It has something that's part of the narrative that it just brings you to this galaxy that's so far away that even though it's pure fiction, it could feel so real. And that's what I just like about it. It's like an escape. It's just so awesome. Where just again, like just seeing these characters, especially when I grew old, when I became old enough to see the original trilogy, I just fell in love with that. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so awesome. Darth Vader and what I mean, I used to call it Dark Vader, but I didn't know better at that time. But as I grew older,
so did our parents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I just love it. I mean, honestly, and I can't wait to get to this series and what is in store for Star Wars as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll definitely talk a little bit more about that towards the end. Lastly, Andrew F. Rodriguez.
Hello,
what's up,
sir.
dude? How you
Pretty
doing?
good. I'm doing fine. Yeah, dude. When you say, "Hey, I'm gonna talk about Star Wars," sure, you're gonna talk about Book of Boba Fett, all right? So, and you went like, "Oh no, we're gonna talk a spoiler review." I was like, "This is why I'm here. I've been wanting to talk about this." I mean, I have friends of mine who's like, "No, we haven't seen it yet. We can't." I'm like, "I need to talk about it. You don't understand." It's like the Force wasn't as strong. Look, I've had my McGinnis shirt. I've been a Star Wars fan since forever. Now that's like the few things I was allowed to watch when I was a kid was Star Wars. So it was like when I saw when they first announced the Mandalorian, I was like, "Oh, okay, they're doing Boba Fett." Oh no, they're doing another Mandalorian. I was like, "Okay, I'll watch it." And they're like, "Damn, baby, when I saw Boba, shoot," I was just like, "Yes." And then when Mandalorian second season had like the Book of Boba Fett, I was like, must look at every single like piece of information to come out. And I've been waiting all this time for this show. So like, yeah. Personally, my name is Andrew Rodriguez. I'm an artist, illustrator, game designer now, because I have actually officially now started working for a company that actually does Dungeons and Dragons products for the actual Dungeons and Dragons game. So yeah, so like I officially broke into that aspect. Now I want to write a Star Wars game. I want to play a Dungeons and Dragons. I want to play a role-playing game. I want to take out the old D6 system Star Wars games. I want to have everyone in this panel write up their characters, and let's just make a whole game right now. Like, I'm so excited. After this, I basically told my friends, my gaming group, okay, guys, Galaxy Star far, far away, March, I'm starting a Star Wars campaign. And like all my other friends, F you, we're starting our own campaign. So right now, we're so excited. And yeah, I'm sorry I'm going crazy right now, but yeah, I was very excited for today. And it's been so long, Izzy. It's been so long I haven't seen you for a while, man.
I know. I've been hiding, right, in some way, some capacity, right? All right, guys. So I want to just share with the viewers here, which we have here. I saw Edwin, my godson there, saying, "Hey," but go out there, tell your family and friends, because you know what? We're gonna be giving away this drawing today. This is the drawing that's going. This is original
Awesome.
art from our guest from Monday, Dafu Yu, who was glad to say to me, "I'll do a drawing for you." And I asked him, "What do you want to draw?" And I told him, "No, we're doing Book of Boba Fett. We're doing a few things. We do Batman, but he was like, "I'll do it." And he immediately said, "I'll do this one." And like within a day's time, he showed it to me, and I just went, "What?" So for those of you who are watching, if you are watching through Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, this is how it's going to work. You have to go to the YouTube channel. You have to leave a comment. And most importantly, you need to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm happy to say that as of today, as of right now, we are currently at 90 subscribers. So therefore, we need 10 more subscribers. That was the goal. The goal is 100 subscribers. I believe you are here. I see some comments coming in through Facebook right now, but it has to be through YouTube. So YouTube is the place for you to get this. So go to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment in YouTube. I will come back to this drawing later on in the day. We'll show it a few more times so that everybody knows. But again, leave the comment in YouTube and you will be part of the drawing to win this. Again, if there's not that many people, then, not that many people will get it. But the more people come in, the better chances you are to get this. So it's a beautiful piece of artwork. We talked a little bit about it. It's a little bit of ink wash in there, but it's a gorgeous Cad Bane drawing. So
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's beautiful. When I saw it, I was like, whoa. And I can't wait to see some other ones that we'll be getting pretty soon. But this one in particular was like, wait, when he showed it to me, I was like, oh, this is perfect. So he has it. He has it ready to be delivered to you, and we'll talk a little bit of how we get that done. So let's start talking about episode 1. We're gonna go into each episode, so episode by episode, and we're gonna talk a little bit about what it's all about. So let me get rid of this little branding over here, just so we can see more. All right. Episode 1, Stranger in a Strange Land. It's the start of the Book of Boba Fett. What we learn is how he got out, right? How he got out. That was the part that stood out the most.
Some of us already knew how he got out. Thank you, Patton Oswalt.
All right. So let me see here. So he was in this. So who would like to fill me in on what happened in Return of the Jedi? Fill me in on what happened in Return of the Jedi. I'm not sure who I had scheduled for this one, but I think it might have been Lewis. Lewis, you were the one that was going to be talking to us a little bit about the Tuscans, right? So yes. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened to Boba Fett and where was he all this time?
So what happens in this first or before in Return of the Jedi, there's a whole scuff happening around near Jabba's barge that they're going to throw Luke Skywalker and some of the people that were with him, our other heroes of the original trilogy, into the Sarlacc pit. And chaos ensues. Luke Skywalker, being the awesome hero that he is, does the little signal to R2-D2. The whole thing ensues where he gets the lightsaber and he's intended to rescue his friends and to get out of this mess. Then Boba Fett comes in and he's trying to do whatever. I mean, well, he's hired by Jabba the Hutt, so he's going to try to bring order to it, or however it may be. Then post-frozen Han Solo, who is still getting his senses together, is like, wait, what's happening? Chewbacca, if I'm not mistaken, mentions Boba Fett, and he's like, wait, Boba Fett, what happened? And then, if I'm not mistaken, because it's been a minute since I've seen Return of the Jedi, he hits the jetpack of Boba Fett, and he falls into the Sarlacc pit. And for a certain amount of time, I believe a few years, if I'm not mistaken, you could correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm not mistaken, he's in there for some time, being digested by the Sarlacc. And then that's when we basically open into the Book of Boba Fett. We do a bit of a time skip, a few years, and he this like he comes to his senses. He sees this stormtrooper like in the pit, also like either being digested or already dead. I think he was kind of alive or whatever. And he gets out. But what was so awesome, or not, I wouldn't say awesome, but in a bad way, sadly, where his armor's taken away. I mean, like, listen, I don't know about you, but an armor, no matter what it is so crucial to anyone, especially in the Star Wars world where you could easily get shot by a laser. I mean, I don't want to get shot by a laser at all. So, but the thing is with Beskar, I mean, is the best. Honestly, I've always thought about it as OP, but you know what? It makes sense when it comes to Mandalorians. I mean, they're warmongering, or I wouldn't say warmongering, but they're more combat focused or oriented. So it would make sense that their armor would be like another way of I would say both a weapon and defense, but mainly defense, of course. But now we jump into this time where it's post Empire or post Return of the Jedi, and the Empire is basically gone, or you have the Imperial remnants around, and these Jawas, who now we know are furry, but we'll leave that to another. They take his armor.
Of course they are.
Of course. That they take his armor, and later on some Tuscans take him to an encampment. But what's so awesome about it, and this is what I liked about I forgot what episode it was. I believe it was, I knew it was in The Mandalorian, but with this specifically with the Book of Boba Fett, where they give and they continue to paint the Tuscan Raiders not as savages, but as a people, as a culture. It's very interesting in how they just build up this again, culture. I was trying to look for another word, but this culture for the Tuscan Raiders, and how they're the people of the Dune Sea, or the people, the Sand People, but they're complex. They have a hierarchy. They have a culture. Not so say savage, but a word that should be placed instead of savage is survival. That they survive in the desert. This place, if I'm not mistaken, Tatooine was a world that had oceans, but now it is a place that is just sand and desert. So now they're searching, they're scavenging for these like coconut water things, which I think is so awesome and so clever about it. But we see Boba Fett now, he's a prisoner, and he's essentially at this point in the story is seeking to escape and to survive, to do his own thing, but he's unable to because that Rodian, who's a snitch, says like, "Hey, this guy's escaping." It's like, what? Like, be quiet. But yeah, but so, that's something awesome about the Tuscan Raiders.
Yeah, and we learned a little bit more about the Tuscan Raiders in episode 1 and 2, and we learned the type of tribe they are. Right, they're nomadic. Right, they have some rich history because they go back as far back as the very first Star Wars movie. You got who could forget that moment where we just see that Tuscan Raider go,
This man right here, here tells you who they are. Right? Like he goes,
but at the same time, it's like we looked at them as a very savage group of tribesmen, right? And for the most part, they are still. It didn't really change. But then we start learning a little bit about who they are, what kind of tribe they are, how together they are as family, and how they work together. So, get to that. Yeah, go ahead.
I think Obi-Wan or Ben Kenobi in A New Hope says or mentions that they are savages, that they're a savage people. So I don't know what experience Obi-Wan had with the Tuscan Raiders, but I mean, he should have just hung out with them, sit around the campfire.
Go ahead, Robert.
The barbecue.
Yeah, it's emphasized in episode 2 as well with the loss of Anakin's mother. There's this kind of whole thing where it's like they tortured her, they beat her, and of course that's what causes him to kill a whole tribe. But it's interesting how between this series and The Mandalorian, how they kind of changed that narrative. It's like, okay, there's more depth to them. There's a reason why they're so brutal. There's a reason they don't like outsiders. They're kind of like picked on. You see the one thing. It's also interesting. I don't know if anybody ever played Knights of the Old Republic.
I have.
Of course, Andrew has.
Some stuff about the original world of Tatooine kind of harkens to some of that like lore that was introduced in the game so many years ago. It's like all stuff that's technically not canon. It's kind of cool. Like Filoni's trying to like forcing it in there or trying to like find new ways to put it in there. Because I think in that game there was a very similar story of why they are who they are. You know, what's the you know that they don't have machines in the outside.
It's crazy. Like in the Knights of the Old Republic game, and even in the comic books, Tatooine still had like water, like little oases above water. And you're talking about thousands upon thousands of years ago. Like you're talking about that game was like when you do count to the Tuscans, they're comical in that game. They're not really. I mean, you can fight them, but they are like more like the same league as the robots. Roger. You know the droids. So they're in that same little like very funny league. Like, but man, the first movies they were just like, okay, we just need people who live in the desert who are just basically fierce, and you only get to see them like a few times. I mean, what they did with the like Luis says, man. I saw the Tuscan Raiders. I was just like, holy crap! They gave them like if you go to now if you looked at Wikipedia before and you look at Wikipedia now, they gave them an actual full society and chronology. They actually went into like, so it's like whoever rewrote that episode must have took a how we say like a anthropomorphic view on them rather than just they're just this.
Yeah, and they layered them up, right?
Like
they were layered where they were just a one-hit wonder kind of thing. That there was no depth to their characters. They were just savages, as we knew, right?
And also, the main. I was looking at the Wikipedia again because before you told me to do some research, I did research of everything because I'm like that crazy. That fighter girl, that fighter lady, she's been in a lot of stuff too. Like the lady who actually trained Boba, man, she was just like she was like brutal. And I don't think they
him up.
Yeah, and here's the thing: like you couldn't tell who's male or female in that series, and they actually specifically said, "Yeah, she's female." I'm like, dude. So now you're telling me they're also like Amazons? Done.
Sold. Right. So now when we're actually on episode 2, some of the things that we'd started learning about, we started learning more about what what Tatooine is really about and all these little the underbelly of the crime world within Tatooine. We learned a little bit, and it's like nostalgic is one thing, but then when you give us stuff that we've seen in other places, that's when we go like we just go nerd crazy at that moment. And this is where Andrew, you're coming in with this one. What do you thought about Black Chrysanthemum? Chrysanthemum. Why I say Chrysanthemum?
Yeah, the funny thing is when I saw Chrysanthemum, I was like, what? I was like, look, like he had like the bracers, he had like this huge moniker, and he was just like, again, a regular street tough bounty hunter / just a bodyguard. But man, then you hear like he was kind of like in the UFC version of the galactic, like like all the huts has this like these fights out there in the Hutverse, and they actually have fights also in the Imperial. So this dude was a trained MMA fighter in that world, and then he after that decided, you know what, let me do some bounty hunting. But yeah, and also Kerry Jones is the actor who plays this guy, and I think there's going to be a lot more work for this guy because he just he imbrued like this like tough guy, but also he got his ass you could see he got his ass handed like once or twice. And in this last episode, he came back. It was like a linebacker. Like, he was like, if you had the odds if this guy was going to go, man, he was like, I think he fought an entire guild. He was surrounded.
One moment where he just kicks the guy, and then as he kicks him, he takes the laser, just shoots him right there.
Right?
I still
my favorite is he's walking with like a limp. He has two dudes on his back. He has one guy on his arm. He throws one guy and shoots him. I was like, yo, But before that, you see him like they football rushed him. And he was like, "What the hell?"
No,
I gotta
but
give it to him. He was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was my. I was like, guys, this actor's going to do some more. This character's coming back. This actor's coming back. Yeah,
Yeah, this is
I
not
loved
the
it.
last we. It's definitely not the last we've seen him in.
what's so awesome about Black Chrysanthemum is, I think a lot of it also has to go to the character design, especially in bringing this character into life. Where, if seeing on the screen right now, the gray hair on his face, you know, like you can see like kind of the age, and then the actor's expressions with the eyes. It kind of gives me the sense of with Pedro Pascal and him having the mask on, or the stunt double, where even though you may not understand what he's saying in his language, but you can see his expressions and how he expresses himself with his faces, when he like raises an eyebrow, or like kind of like nods, or like really when they're in the sanctuary, it's like, yeah, like when he takes that Trandoshan's arm off, like, oh my gosh, like what the heck. But it was just so awesome is, again, the character and how she gives a bit of a juxtaposition, if I'm not mistaken, that's the term, of just explaining and giving. Like before, honestly, I didn't know about his existence. So the mistress or the owner of the establishment, when she gave and explained who Black Chrysanthemum was, I was like, oh my gosh, like this guy sounds actually pretty cool. Like, and it gives some lore and explains to people who might have not read that comic or that part of the lore.
Yeah. And also, like, all of the old heads know her from like Flashdance, and we knew her from like other like well-known properties. But she was like, there was like, I was looking, I was like, she looks familiar, and I was like,
Jessica Biel's.
I was like, dude, I was like, I was just like, I was like, I'm gonna tell you right now, like, whoever was the casting director, they were just like, yeah, we're just gonna.
No, it was all Filoni and Favreau. Favreau was like he was mostly in charge of this project, and it was a lot of Favreau, it was a lot of Filoni, it was a lot of Robert Rodriguez as well. Robert Rodriguez, he actually directed 3 of the episodes here.
Especially the one tonight,
the last
today,
one,
yeah.
In the last one,
yeah, the last one, today's episode, that was definitely Robert Rodriguez, and you could see it's Robert Rodriguez. You could see his work, like he likes action. And then we get the Hutts. Where that came from? The Hutts, the cousins. Where I saw them, I was like, oh. And you saw, I remember seeing that episode and seeing that one guy that was struggling to hold the. He's there. Everybody else is kind of okay, but there's this one guy. He's like, like they're so heavy.
I love the Hutts, man. I love the Hutts. There's like these two big, the 2 twins, and they're like, it's like, oh, I would like to see a Hutt who isn't a gangster, and they did it once, like in Clone Wars, and it was a baby, and then the baby turns out to be a gangster.
It was a 1T Hutt, right?
Yeah. It was Jabba's son, I think.
Yeah, it was Jabba's son. It was in the movie.
Like,
it was in the Clone Wars movie.
Yeah,
so it was like,
I don't know, but I know he's a gangster too.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, they're like, yeah. And I even wrote it like in the wiki because you gave me. I also took the Hutts as well.
Yeah.
So because it was Blackson and the Hutts, I'm looking at them like, so every single Hutt do you have here is gangster, gangster, gangster. Oh, let's look at the Clone Wars, gangster, gangster. Let's look at their homeworlds and look at the new adaptive homeworlds, gangster, gangster capitals. I'm like, what?
But in Legends, if I'm not mistaken, there was a Jedi Hutt, and wasn't there also a Sith? I believe there was also a Sith.
Yeah, there was a Hutt as again. It was I remember the Hutt Sith. I remember the Hutt Sith in the comics. Yeah, that guy was just like. Imagine Jabba the Hutt. Think of Jabba the Hutt all scarred up and burnt up, and like he didn't really even use a lightsaber, except for like a weird. He had like a weird force thing but he's mostly like Palpatine's electric thing. It was kind of cool. I mean, I'm not sure who. I think it's a Dark Horse comic. That was back in the day.
Yeah.
That was like, I think that was Legacy.
The Dark Horse comics were really good.
Yeah,
they were really good. By far, some of the best Star Wars stories have come out of the Dark Horse comic books. Unfortunately, they're not part of canon anymore.
Unfortunately, emphasis on that word.
Yeah, but they were so good.
Unfortunately, I want to see my Mara Jade one day. I'm sorry.
But I'm sure they'll, if the fans want it, I think what they're coming across is that there's things within Star Wars that we want to learn more about. I know Michael, you go way back with Star Wars too, man. I'm sure you remember the very first one like I did back in the day, right?
I remember watching it on a VHS tape because when it originally came out, I was a year old. So when Star Wars came out, but Return of the Jedi actually was the first movie I saw without my parents. It was what, 83, so I don't know. What was
around
I,
that time.
6 or 7? I was about 7, maybe 6, 7 years old. And I remember my brother and I stood out and, waited for the movie. We were super excited. I had all the toys. I had everything. I loved, I mean, this, Star Wars is one of the reasons I think I do art, it's, I create. The stories were great. But getting back to, I'm sorry, I just had a little brain fart. What were we? Which one were we talking about?
Well, right now we were in episode 2, so we can move on to. We're going to talk a little bit about episode 3 now. Now that you mentioned it, or brought it to my attention, and it's the Streets of Mos Espa. And here we get introduced. We get a little bit more story regarding Chrysanthemum, but what we end up learning more about this cyborg gang. And it was interesting when I was looking for. I was actually wondering there was a name for them, and there really isn't a name for them. They're just known as the Cyborg Gang.
What is it? They remind me of. I think it's in the last season of Batman Beyond, where there was a doctor that got or that fixed these guys that they were a gang that they would.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I can't believe I know the episode's name. It's April Moon.
Something like that. Yeah, I guess so. I can't remember. No, but when I saw that, I was like, so they're in their 1950s mopeds from Batman Beyond. I was like, oh my god, because they honestly they looked like they had those modifications from the show. And there was a guy that had that if you see in the style of that era in Batman, there's a guy that or all their ties are like kind of stray with like a dot on around the collar. And if I'm not mistaken, we see someone that is like that. I'm like, you know what? That reminds me of Batman Beyond. Very interesting.
Yeah. That I could talk about for a long time. Batman Beyond.
Yeah, well, we could do an episode on that. I love that show.
We'll definitely talk a little bit about that.
For the first time.
Yeah. I even pulled the comics for that as well. Man.
Yeah, so Batman Beyond's getting some love. Go ahead, Michael.
I just want to ask a question about the episode we're talking about with the Cyborg Gang. Am I the only one who feels their speeder bikes are out of place in Star Wars?
Yes and no. I just think they were messy because you're in a desert planet, and you at least have some kind of. I mean, I've been to like places where people are like, oh, well, look at the picture of this beautiful car in the desert. I was like, yes, look at that manufactured shot of a beautiful car in the desert. I've been to Phoenix. My family's car is a beautiful Mercedes, and it's dust all over it. Yeah. Like it goes everywhere. Yeah. So if you're going to tell me they're like
goes everywhere,
think about it. There's dust everywhere and everything. Even the most nice car, really shiny car, there was a lot of dust. I like the fact that maybe the story is that they used to steal water to wash their cars. To me, that's like some bullshit, because why would you need water with all this other stuff you probably have in a galaxy far away to clean your stuff? So, but it was to me, it was, I like the gang, but their speeder bikes, they had to
well, I like that one guy that looked like Cyborg to me. I just every time I saw him, I thought Cyborg. Hey, look, it's Cyborg.
We hear his name. We hear his name later on, but I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't remember it either. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go.
No, I was just going to say, just getting back to the speeder, I just felt the look was not Star Wars tech. Like the tech that we're accustomed to in Star Wars, especially after this takes place after Jedi. What I don't remember the years. What, 5?
I think it's
10 years.
Yeah. No, I think it's 5 years around that time.
Yeah,
it's around 5 years and so forth.
Nothing is clean. We haven't seen clean Star Wars tech since the prequels. When the original trilogy happens, everything is just old looking, nothing's clean. You know, it's just dirty. And now we have these clean speeder bikes in this town that looks like they went to a 1950s,
Dealer.
dealer and just started pulling parts. And I'm like, we didn't see that tech. And I like the concept behind it, and they're designed beautifully, in my opinion. I just don't think they're right for Star Wars.
You know what they remind me of? I feel like they I feel as though, and the gang too, the gang didn't seem, the gang was Star Wars and the bikes were Star Wars, but I feel like that gang and those bikes are more so of a Coruscant thing than a Tatooine thing.
See, I can see it if it happened on Coruscant.
Exactly.
Definitely.
And I saw a lot of people comment about how it was a bit of a homage to George Lucas's earlier movie, American Graffiti.
I could see that. That's definitely see that
too.
Yeah,
so
I read that
was
too.
Just the things like, hey, we want to honor Lucas with this, but it didn't, like you said, like just a little too polished for Tatooine at this time. Like maybe back in like episode 1, you could see like this gang by the pod racers,
All they needed to do was design a little bit more dust on them, and it was perfect.
And
that's it. Seriously, like one element
colors into it.
I like them.
Colors. I think.
I love those mopeds though. I love the
colors. Should be a little bit faded, because
But it should at least if you want to clean, like if you want something clean, well then you have to have different environmental cleans. Like something that's clean in New York ain't gonna be clean in Phoenix. That's what I'm trying to say. So have a little bit of dust, just a little bit. And if they were stealing water to clean their bikes, this is Tatooine. Tatooine has it's still, it's going to scuff things up. Though I'm going to say last episode, they took out my favorite one, the blue bike. So they took that one out. I was like, oh!
So let's move on to the next episode, because I think out of all the characters, they probably weren't the most developed. I think they needed more to it, and I think they're going to hear that. And possibly for another season, we'll probably see a more in-depth for them. Like we did see a little bit of their origins a little bit, and how and why they were cyborgs in particular. But speaking of cyborgs that we didn't know at that moment.
Yes.
She was definitely the heart of the show to me. Because she guided Boba when Boba didn't know what to do. So she would always give him the advice he needed. He's like, "You sure about that?" I've always loved it. How do you say her name? Min-Wan Nai?
Yeah.
I love her. Minna. I love her in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She was one of my favorite characters in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And here, she doesn't disappoint. I love her all the way. But we learn more about her in this particular episode, The Gathering Storm, episode 4, which was more about her journey into how she and Boba Fett became really friends. They became friends. At first, they were just allies, but they became friends as a result of their work.
I would say that they're still allies, but I will save that for the end of when we kind of wrap up our last final thoughts type of way. But when we see Fennec Shand, this is the second, not the second time, but this is still in the same era as the Mandalorian when we see Fennec Shand before. But technically in canon, this is the second time we see her, because the first time, technically, if we were to do it in the timeline of Star Wars, we see her in the Bad Batch series, which is
she's in the cartoon
right after Order 66 ensues, and is hired to take back Omega from Cad Bane, or to intervene from that capture, that mission that job that Bane was hired on, and she put up a major fight in the Bad Batch series. So it's awesome how we get to see again. People might say, "Oh, this bounty hunter, or seeing this other person again makes the world seem smaller." I would beg to differ, where it just validates her reputation as a bounty hunter, where time obviously a lot of time has passed by, or has gone by since the Bad Batch to now. However, she has established herself. She has a name, and also we also see the popularity of Boba Fett, where she says you're Boba Fett. Like, come on, like, are you serious? It's like you're wrapped in. You have a bantha with you that you've been riding. You're dressed in a black cloak. Like, come on, like, really? That's your ship? But what's so awesome about her is just, again, her talent, her style. I will also say her style, but it's just her. Another term or way to say is her straightforward nature. She's like, well, we'll do this, and her espionage and how she'll send out. We see her send out this like little mini probe ball going and inspecting and scanning all of the palace. So I just feel like she's established, she's prepared, she knows what she's doing. She has experience.
Yeah. She's one thing I always liked about her and everything she's done is how she maintains her coolness no matter what. She's just one of these characters, you know, and then she's a very strong female character, of course, very strong, right? But she's always cool. Like she comes across as just being one of the guys, right? And that's something that she portrays, the actress. She does such a great job. And again, going back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is where I first really got a chance to see her work. I love how she and Coulson always had this dynamic about each other. And they were always, she was always telling me, "You sure about that?" And again, it was like a Boba Fett Fennec as well.
She's like a support character,
she's this very supportive character, but she'll tell you like it is. Like she'll tell you like, I don't know about that, and she won't be afraid to to do it. So I personally thought she was a great character, but we also find out some more stuff in this particular episode regarding the Pike Syndicate and what they're about.
What I don't think people talk enough about is that this is like the first time you actually see in Star Wars, other than maybe Luke Skywalker getting his hand replaced, we actually see the droid and human part. Like you actually see a cyberdoc who's human. Yeah, like you actually see cyberdoc stuff. That's like if you're a big cyberpunk fan, like most people are, you hardly hear about cyber surgeries and stuff like that. Now, the fact that you have this guy who's in the middle of the desert, you pay him a couple of credits, and you could get yourself like cybernetic parts. And like when Boba saved her life, and she's looking at her, what do you do? He goes, "I saved your life." And so she kind of like, okay, this dude could have just left me dead in the desert, but he knew he's like who? And the whole scene was like, "Who are you?" Well, I'm Boba Fett. She didn't believe him, and then like later in that episode, she's like, "Oh, okay."
Okay, now I guess you are.
Yeah.
So
That's
Roberto.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go to Roberto. Roberto, talk to me a little bit about the Pike Syndicate.
So the Pikes, they're this kind of like species and kind of similar like the Hutts. They're crime lords. They're involved in they're like a cartel. They run spice, which is like a inhaled narcotic. And you see them I think they were first visually introduced in the Clone Wars. And you kind of see like there's an episode, the Eminence, and then you kind of find out a little bit more like they join Darth Maul, where Darth Maul kind of comes back and he's like, "I'm going to form the super syndicate. I'm going to unite all these crime lords to take over Mandalore." Kind of like, it's almost like he was still working on Palpatine's plan of like, I'm going to still control everything, but I'm going to do it from a very back-ended way of doing it through the underworld. So he joins the Pikes. He groups, they join him. You later kind of find out that the Pikes were somewhat involved with, the whole, murder of that. What was the Jedi's name?
Sifo Dyas.
Sifo Dyas, yeah. So they were involved in that. They had collateral against Dooku and the Jedi. And so they're kind of like in the one of these groups. They're running this. You see them in Solo, the Solo movie. They're running them. Their spices mined out of this planet Kessel, where also the fuel is from Solo. And so they're kind of like, you see them there, they kind of pop up here and then, and it looks like now in the vacuum left by Jabba the Hutt, they're making some deal with the mayor to kind of take over things. And you see this scene with the trains where it's kind of like a little bit from, the big homage to like Lawrence of Arabia, that train scene from Lawrence of Arabia. And you see Boba Fett, he joins, kind of gets these bikes, they take out the train, he makes this deal like, "Hey, you know what, you're going to be, you offer your protections being offered from the Tuscans, you deal with us, and you kind of like. I think this is the first time we really see their face, because I think before they were always like masked, and you kind of see they look a little fish-like, and obviously like, it looks like they require water, and so it's interesting that they're choosing to kind of come to this very desert planet, you know, kind of out of their element. So I think it, with that, like kind of like showing that they have this huge water car, like kind of more showing them that they are this foreign invader, you know, like even for a gangster, we're like, you don't belong here, you know, you don't belong. Your criminal element doesn't actually belong on Tatooine. And it's just interesting that you see that they're the ones who are starting to run the show. They're the ones that seem to start developing more power, and they show it later on in the other episodes how much power they've amassed on the planet.
Yeah. So in this particular episode, we end the episode with the surprise that we were all waiting for, but we didn't expect to happen. And that in that episode, which leads to the very next episode, and we kind of like we just went a different route that we all didn't expect, right? The next episode that followed this particular episode, which was the Gathering Storm, was the return of the Mandalorian. Something that I think we all were. We just went nuts when we saw it, and then we get this episode, which was technically Mandalorian Season 2.5.
Yeah.
Right? It really was. So, Michael, talk to me a little bit about that.
Sure. So actually, that episode, first of all, I was shocked to see it, and wasn't I forget, didn't they have 2 Mandalorian like episodes?
It was kind of like
this was the first one. And first of all, I was just blown away by it. And you're gonna have to just remind me, because some of the stuff blends to me together. This is the one with the dark saber story.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, there's definitely dark sabers.
So this is a dark saber. Now, most people, I guess, know the dark saber from the Clone Wars show. That's where, you know, not the Clone, was it Clone Wars it first appeared in? It first appeared in.
Previously.
And I love, first of all, I love all the characters that they brought in. The 2 other Mandalorians, the armorer and the other guy, I can't think of his name. Yeah, Paz. Yeah, and I really enjoyed the relationship between them. And
Nice.
hold on, you know what? Actually, I just got a notification on my phone, and I gotta just take a little side note. I just got a notification. I'm a D23 member. I belong to the Disney fan club. They just said Obi-Wan Kenobi got a release date. It's going to be May 25th of this year.
Oh,
so which
we are going to talk a little bit about that today.
Yes,
so
but May 25th, as everyone knows, Star Wars
but
came out that day, 97. I'm not 97, 77. And so anyway, I just needed a side note because it just popped up on my phone. But anyway,
Breaking news, to the show, everybody.
Getting back to the show, it was, like you said, it was Mandalorian 2.5. What I really enjoyed about that was, oh God, there's so much to choose from. I think the most important part of that episode was towards the end when the battle happened between Mando and Paz. And I think, you know, seeing that that Paz is an ancestor of the one who wielded the dark saber, that he should have that he should have it by family, you know, just his generational thing, family right. And then you see that Mando, wins. Now this is the part that always bothered me at the end, and I thought of this the second it ended. When they asked, have you taken off your helmet? And he says yes.
He has a little bit of hesitation. There was some hesitation.
He does.
It's like, what do I say?
Well,
but did you take off your helmet?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he says yes.
And then I'm sorry, Michael, but just my thought is inside that helmet, he's probably with this face like this, or just doing one of these,
But here's my issue with it. First of all, she says to him, "You're no longer a Mandalorian," right? he's holding a dark saber. He's basically the king of the Mandalorian.
He's Mandalore.
He can turn to her and say, "No,
The
you're
Mandalorian
no
is
longer a Mandalorian." You know, like that's just that was my first thought. Then the
You're
second,
like, no, like you're no longer a Mandalorian.
They're gonna rename.
Shing, ding. And then look at the guy who's on the floor. Who is a Mandalorian? You, my liege. Like that's it. Like good stuff.
Exactly. So that was
They're
that
gonna
was my
rename the
first.
show The Man, not The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Well, and
But that was my first. The second is by the Mandalorians don't have to be human style characters. They could be basically any species. It's something you adopt in a way. You're basically a warrior. You live by a code, and there's different sects of those codes. You could look at it as Catholicism breaking off into different forms, and you have Lutheran and the other forms of Christianity now. Yeah, exactly. So you could, just because the armorer is such a strict to the code, who said she makes the rules? Who says she is the law? Why can't he still be a Mandalorian even if he takes off his helmet? And he has a damn darksaber.
Well,
he's the king.
Mandalore the Great had to have taken off his helmet before.
Yeah.
What about
exactly.
past Great Mandalorians?
Yeah.
Heck, even past Vizsla's grandfather, I guess is his name.
Because they're different groups of Mandalore. There's those that they have no problem removing their helmets, right?
Yes.
And then there's those.
Mandalorian Season
Yeah,
Two.
exactly.
Well,
and then
theory is
those
that
here. Yeah, go ahead,
They're
Robert.
children of the Watch, so they're descendants of the original Death Watch group that you see previous from the Clone Wars, and so somehow they've become more radicalized in the sense, because you hear even like she references Bo-Katan, and everything that happened with Bo-Katan, the couple times that she had the Darksaber,
and that's an homage to if you remember, there's an episode of the Clone Wars when Maul defeats Pre Vizsla, and Bo-Katan's like, "Oh, you'll never win, or you'll never be one of us, or whatever." I forgot what she says, and Darth Maul is like, "Well, frankly, for you, history won't see it that way." So now we see the repercussions of that, where it's like people will see, even though there could be some more history when she tries to get the Darksaber and whatnot, but we already see from that point, perhaps some of the radical members from Death Watch or the ones who later become radicalized, are inspired or are from the reign under Maul. We'll see as, hey, she's essentially like a heretic or rejected, or she's not real type of way, like she's not one of the real ones,
or she's royalty. They had followed by their own rules.
Yeah,
that could also be it too. Like
what thing? Go ahead, Andrew.
Sorry, when I was looking at that episode and going back from even when she was building the armor, because that's the thing, that building everyone's armor, building Grogu's armor. Grogu's armor looked like pretty much like plate, like not even plate. It's mail. It's mail. So like I was like,
so
and when I'm like, okay, so you have this this is for your foundling. So she's basically telling him, yeah, you better get that foundling back. He better be a Jedi. And I'm going to tell you, spoiler alert, when he burned his own self in that episode fighting with the Darksaber, you actually see him burn himself. I was like, in the back of my head, you know what? He needs a Jedi to teach him how to use that damn lightsaber. And I was like,
so going into that, we're going to the next episode because we are going to talk. We'll talk a little bit more about
the
Halo
Jedi ring. The Halo ring world was awesome, by the way.
Dude,
that's true.
Something else. It was Ring Worlds, the old school Ring World books. I'm up to the second one.
Also,
so I'm starting to read like a bunch of the old Ring World books. Dude, that was like my favorite ode to like old sci-fi. Like that, and every single episode had an ode or two for the old classic sci-fi, like Amosov, like a bunch of Amosov books, the old, like, remember the old sci-fi mail order books back in the day. It was like the only one people used to get. It was like a sci-fi weekly, the sci-fi monthly, and it used to just be like one book, and you used to get it all the time, and it's like all these beautiful covers. But but Louise and me, same.
But the things, before we move forward, we have to also address that. I think in episode 3, the Hutts leave Tatooine. They have to go back to business in Nal Hutta, and they also get. Remember, we can't forget, Boba Fett now has a Rancor. He has a Rancor now. So at this point, so I feel like we jumped over that real quickly.
And of course, my man's in it, Danny Trejo.
Yes.
There is no name for the man. Actually, what's the name of the guy who's a Rancor trainer? That's all it is Rancor. No, it's Danny Trejo. He doesn't need a name. Danny Trejo survived. He's in a galaxy far, far away.
When we saw him, you know, it was such a random moment too. When you see him, you're like, "This is Danny Trejo."
And like, oh, these Rancors, they're such sweet creatures. I was like, oh my god.
He is one of those guys that he doesn't need to act anymore. You know what I mean? He's just I'll just come in and I just wear whatever you want me to wear, and then that's it. I'll do my part. And it's brilliant. It's just perfect, right? One thing I want to talk about, because we are going to let's look at episode 6 in particular. Obviously, we'll get to the end of episode 6 because that's a big one. But before that, we go into and we start seeing, you know, a little bit more about, first of all, the dark saber in particular. What's interesting about it is, like, he's not, the Mandalorian's having, Din Djarin's having problems with it. He can't really weld it the way he probably should. And there's something interesting about that, because does that mean he wasn't worthy for it? Obviously, he was reluctant.
Every
single weapon you have to be trained for.
Something like this in Rebels.
Yeah, if you saw Star Wars Rebels, they show Sabine. She's like, it's heavier than I expected, and she's having difficult. And then at one point, she almost like bonds with it emotionally, and she like kind of like owns canon, the Jedi there, and like, you know, it's like, oh, she finally connected with it. She let go where it was holding her back. So obviously, I think there's something that's holding him back, you know, and at some point, like whether he had some more training or whether it's connection with, you know, another character we'll talk about a little bit later, you know, like that might help him do it.
I would say is the heart of a warrior, and I'll tell you why. We see Pre Vizsla wield that sword so easy. He lifts it up. He's like, for Mandalore. He runs it, and then we see Darth Maul like do his thing easily. I believe, and it would be fitting for for being a Mandalorian to have the heart of a warrior and intense and that motivation to be worthy to wield the darksaber. That's just my 2 cents in it, but it's just a thought.
That makes sense, because I think right now he doesn't have much. Like, he's just going about his day doing this kind of like gig.
He's doing his job,
but he's not really a sword fighter either.
He's not in a sword fight either. Yeah, even with the Basilic pole, he gave that up to make the kids the armor. He's not really a what do you call it? Basically one weapon wielder or a 2 weapon wielder. He's a gunsmith. He's a gun aficionado. He's the one, you know, I mean, you could tell that, like, even when he was fighting in that scene, when he was fighting with it, he was struggling. I think not because the dark saber takes like what was it called? Like, remember Conan the Barbarian? Like, this place takes a heavy toll. These things take a heavy toll. Like, if you want to go into that route, like that spiritual route, like you're holding a saber that is probably imbued by not only villains of that planet, but other Mandalorians from before. And if you have like, I know there's such thing as a force attachment to like different artifacts. Now, if there's a force attachment that he needs to meet, and I'm going to tell you right now, that means there's certain force things where force items that you can't even touch. They don't even allow you to touch them. And that's in canon. That's been in canon for decades. You touch that, like he's touching it, so he has to have either force sensitivity or woke up his force sensitivity. If you want to go into that, I don't think he's the inheritor of Darksaber for now. I think he's just one of many holders of it. If they want to go into that Darksaber like history, they want to go into
about sabers and talking about all that stuff. When we get to this episode 6, it may not. It could be Mandalorian 2.5.
Yeah.
Or it could be Jedi World.
You know what it is? It's the pre-show to the Ahsoka series.
It's the Ahsoka series, right? It's pre-Ahsoka series, right? One thing, she was so cool too. Makes an appearance, but when we get Luke Skywalker.
I thought
And-
Ahsoka and Luke were a thing. Honestly, I'm sorry, but I thought they were like.
Everybody thinks Luke is a thing with somebody has a thing with Luke for some reason. I don't know why, but I gotta give them credit. The special effects what they did to Mark Hamill was so much better than what we saw in Mandalorian Season 2. So much better. It felt natural. The only times that it didn't work was when he was running and doing his parkour running. And if you ever watch it again, there's a scene that you see the guy jump into the rock and then jump again, and you could tell it wasn't him. It was
Also, there was
obvious.
something with the lips where he was talking and like it didn't kind of. I mean,
Yeah.
and these are just minor gripes, but I mean, this.
But we get Luke
technology is, like,
Skywalker,
awesome.
guys.
I was like,
Yeah.
and they went back in time and they got Mark Hamill. Like, what?
That's not a hard thing to do. Trust me, Mark will do it.
Yeah, that's a scary deep fake though.
But he does
Listen,
it.
This is all original.
Right? Right. He does it. He's training Grogu. I love the fact when he's talking, he's like, Grogu, you're too slow. So let me just pick you up and just keep walking. Let me just pick you up.
Using the force, using the force to jump him.
Yeah.
He was treating him like bad Chihuahua owners treat their dogs, man. I was like, what the hell? Picking up the leash and bringing him down. I'm like, bad Chihuahua owners do that. I'm like, dude.
Look,
I was like, look, you got some dark side in you, son. You better recognize the baby. Hold him. Oh, you know that? Like, people were actually. I was watching a bunch of comments on that scene we were talking about, like lift, walk, lift. Like, he's a baby. Pick him up. Pick him up.
He ain't no baby. He's like what? He's got to be like 70 now or something like that.
He's a baby.
He's in his. I think they said he's in his 50s.
He's
right?
50s, but he's still a baby.
Yeah.
So Robert, Roberto, I gave you some of the information because you're gonna lead us into the big reveal in episode 6. But talk a little bit more about what we got in in this particular episode 6 with the Jedi, and then when we get to the scene with Cobb Vanth, and our big moment. So talk a little bit about that.
So, and I would say one of the things I appreciate about this, I was reflecting on, I was like, these 2 episodes would have been in another series, like all the little side stories you see clippets of. And so they kind of like, look, let's just put it in 2 episodes. You'll get a better effect than getting bits of it throughout. And I think you really feel it a lot better, like you understand it more. And so you kind of see Din, he wants to give, Grogu the gift, kind of check in on him, like, like it's still this like fatherly thing, like, oh, I'm checking my kid at preschool and see how they're doing, but and Ahsoka's kind of like, well, he sees
that's so bad preschool though, dude.
Yeah, like most parents know that, like, like I know, like show up somewhere, my kids see me, like, yeah, they're gonna want to run to me, and so he sees that they have this kind of banter, and you see, the kind of Luke and Grogu. And he sees it for this, and you kind of like Din kind of like resolves, like, you know what? It's probably best for him. I'm gonna go and do my thing. And he goes back to Tatooine. He tells, he's talking with Boba Fett, and they're coming up with a plan, like, hey, we know we have to go to war. And Din goes to like, I'm gonna call in on this favor, with Cobb Vanth, who you remember from the beginning of season 2. He's basically the marshal mayor of this little town, out, kind of on the outskirts. And, he was one who had Boba Fett's armor. So it's interesting. Went out there not realize, like, hey, maybe there might be some beef because you had my armor for so long. But he goes out there, you kind of see this little scene where Cobb is dealing with the Pikes beforehand. They kind of like, that's how it starts off the episode. Is Cobb is there. He kind of like, it's kind of like like a Western sheriff. Cop.
Yeah, it was definitely Western.
Guys, look, I don't want trouble. You don't want trouble. Let's call it a wash. You go your own way. Just don't come here again. And, it's kind of like, okay, they kind of leave, and, he takes their spice. He throws it on the seas. Like, don't run the spice to this town. When Din comes, he kind of sounds like, look, like, it's not just your town. It's kind of like it's all of Tatooine, and even if you think you negotiate a deal, eventually they're still going to come back for you because it's just what they do. And it kind of still follows in a little bit in that kind of like Western mindset, like, hey, you're a town now. It's not my problem. That's the big city's problem. You know, I don't need to deal with that. Those kind of like things that and tropes that you see in other Western films. And then Din leaves, you know, you kind of get introduced to this new deputy who's kind of annoying. It's kind of like, you know, a little bit on a power trip when Din first arrives. Like, you can't park that here. You know, you need a permit or something.
And Din's like, he don't care. He like,
Yeah,
what are you gonna do about it?
It's the same laws as in remember in The Last Jedi when Finn and Rose try to park on the beach. I'm like, it's just the beach. Like, this is not even anyone at the beach. Come on.
Oh, you see Cobb Vanth, he's like, oh, look, he's new here. Don't shoot him, you know. I still need him.
Oh, wait a minute. Before we move forward, Cobb Vanth, best hair in all of Star Wars lore.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Dare I say?
No.
What kind of barber in
Obi-Wan has good
Tatooine
hair
are they?
too. Obi-Wan has
Nah,
good
man,
hair.
but Cobb Vanth, man, look at that hair, man. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Heavy winds. Actually fought a giant sand beast in episode in season 2. Did not move a freaking hair.
I know,
So
some pomade that
perfect.
he used.
One wind strand hit the hair. That's it.
Yeah.
It was like one of those kind of like.
But going back to Cobb Vanth in particular, in that particular episode, the beginning of the episode starts with that moment.
Yeah.
And then in the end of the episode, which I get is the big reveal of the day, it's what most Star Wars fans were really waiting to see, right? When we get this was the moment we want to see. Who do we see, Roberto?
Yes, we see Cobb Vanth. It's my Black Series, Cobb Vanth.
Oh,
Not a fan.
And you see him
Not
kind
a
of
fan.
walking through. It's a very like Sergio Leone type of moment. You just see him like distance. It's getting closer. And obviously everyone's like, you're like, okay, they're doing it. Okay, they're doing it. You know, you see them.
it's happening! Oh my
It's
gosh!
happening. It's like,
Yeah, I
and he
love
has-
the reaction videos for this scene. I've been watching them for forever.
Oh man, and you see it, and he kind of like does a very simple, like, you know what? It reminded me, I don't know, throughout the show, there's been hints of like that movie Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
You know, where he's kind of this whole washed up, you know, gangster bounty hunter person, and he's kind of does his one last job. And in that scene, it kind of like, so Cobb go, you know, he's like, okay, you know, like, I don't care, you know, who you are, like, and Cad Bane's kind of like, no, like, you know what? Boba Fett's a killer. He works for the Emperor. Kind of like throwing out his dirty laundry, like, don't believe a word he says. And it's kind of like that scene in Unforgiven, like, yeah, he's a killer. You know, this guy's a killer. He's done things. He's not a good guy that you think he is. It's kind of reminded by like, you know, and Cobb is like, he's trying to keep things cool because he's agreed that he's gonna go help, but he's trying to like, okay, I need to send him on his way, let him know we're not, you know, think that we're not doing it. And the deputy is like, I'm gonna be here with you, Marshall, and you know, kind of sets things off in this way that, you know, Cobb gets shot by Cad Bane. The deputy just gets creamed. You know, it's kind of like this intentional shot for Cobb Bane. Like,
oh, there was
shot in
some
the
memes
shoulder.
on that one.
Yeah.
There was definitely some memes on that one.
I shot the sheriff.
And I shot the deputy.
I shot the deputy.
Listen, honestly, it's got to be said. Why didn't Cad Bane run into the town with a speeder? Because he was walking for like a good distance in that heat.
Oh, because
I want to know, like,
Intimidation, dude.
I know.
That's
but-
coolness. That's all.
I
tough
mean,
guy.
I say as a joke, but I think to myself, I mean, how long was he walking, or where's his speeder? Like,
The
it has
best
to be
part is
behind
like
or
you want to
something.
see the scene of him walking out. Like, okay, let me get out, and I'm just gonna walk really slow. He just did his Undertaker. That was his Undertaker moment, right? All you needed was the gong for the.
Yeah, that's it.
He really was the Undertaker. That,
Yep, he was.
you know.
And I think
yeah, go ahead, Roberto.
No, I think the thing that even gets me was like, this guy, this has been a character, like we talked about in the beginning, like he's been in the Clone Wars.
He's
This is
old.
the only
He's old.
real cowboy-like guy in the Clone Wars. You know, there's some things where he does a job with Boba. There's another kind, he does, you know, a job with Aura Singh. He's there, and you know, I know I was reading up over here. It kind of seemed like there was some rivalry between him and Jango Fett. Like once Jango died, he became like the premier bounty. It's like, well, can't get Jango anymore because he's dead. I'll go with not Cobb Vanth,
Cobb
Cad
Bane.
And there's this unaired Clone Wars episode that
Yes, I remember they showed it on D23.
Yeah.
The showdown.
There's a duel between a younger Boba Fett and Cad Bane, and that's kind of explaining how he got dent in the helmet.
Which one of the things I did have a problem with, because
I think they call it short snap.
So the one of the things I did have a problem is that I'm very much, I've seen the movies, I've seen the TV show, the TV shows, the Mandalorians, which is really the only TV show. But I never bothered to see the cartoons, right? I never saw Clone Wars.
Dude.
I hear you. There's a lot to deal with, right? Because I'm a Star Wars guy because I like Star Wars, but I don't go that extreme level when it comes to Star Wars.
Andrew level.
I'm a comic book guy. You talk to me about Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, those guys, I can go all day with that, right? But like when it comes to the lore in particular, I'm a novice, I'll say. Maybe intermediate. I know more than most people, right?
I get that, Izzy. I get that because a lot of the comic books now, they're considered, like all the comic books that I've read when I was a kid, all the Star Wars comics, even the ones I've been collecting from trades, they're not considered out of canon because they were pre-Disney.
Yeah, they were definitely pre-Disney.
Oh yeah, a lot of the good Knights of the Old Republic, a lot of good Legacy, Tales of the Jedi. There's like some great.
There's some good stuff.
Volumes of Jedi stories, like from like 1,000 years, like before Yavin. Like there's even like the ancient, like Tales of the Jedi talks about the ancient Jedi. They didn't even have lightsaber technology yet. They had a lightsaber with a tube, or like they use a cudgel. Like they were just like
like a battery or whatever with them.
So going back to my point is, one of the things that I did have a problem with is that when they show Cad Bane, if you are not familiar with the Clone Wars, if you're not familiar with anything outside of the movies and the Mandalorian, or Rogue One or anything like that, you see this guy and there's something badass about him, right? That's the first thing you say. Is like you see him walking, he's doing his little Undertaker walk, taking forever to get there, but you see him and he's a problem. He's bad. But then as you watch the show, I know watching Boba Fett the whole season, I was wondering what was the deal with the dent on his helmet. I didn't know until I did my research. The problem I had was that the show never answered that for me. So it was really an Easter egg more than anything. They could have just thrown it out there. It's like, oh, I see that you haven't replaced your helmet, and bam, there's your answer, right? That fills in the gap for those people that don't know what it was.
Yeah, there was a hint at that in the last episode. It was like, like you've always been slower at the draw than me. So there's a hint, and I would think that was one of the things I would think was from all the rumors and stuff and everything that was said about the show beforehand. Like, oh, it's gonna fill in more gap years between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi and Boba Fett story. And we started to see some of the flashbacks, and I was kind of hoping that we might see more of that in the flashbacks, like a younger Boba Fett at different times. I mean, maybe we'll see that in the Bad Batch. Maybe they might do a Boba Fett cartoon, which would be awesome because I think you could fill in a lot of those gaps of like, hey, we see them in, end of the Clone Wars, and then now we see in Book of Boba Fett. What the heck happens? But it was kind of like it same thing happened with Ahsoka. Like if you didn't watch Clone Wars, you're like,
but you knew her because you don't have to see Clone Wars to know who she is because she was in everything. She was everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
I think, Michael, were you going to say something that you were going to say? I know you have some mixed feelings when it comes to Cad Bane in particular. I want to hear them. You got the dirt, in other words.
It's not that I have mixed feelings. How do I put that? I mean, listen, he's a cool character. I've never finished the Clone Wars TV series. I'll tell you that right now. And because of that, I've never watched Rebels. So I only know the little bit about him that I saw from the Clone Wars. I only know a little bit about him. See, I gotta say though, seeing him, if you want to call it the big screen now or whatever, like in person, I was very impressed with how they did him.
Mhm.
You know, the one thing I will say about the Star Wars, you know, crew there, the people who make all this stuff behind the scenes, they know how to transfer things over well from, you know, different mediums, whether it's the games, whether it's the comics, whatever it is. They bring this stuff to life, and seeing that was fantastic. I forgot who said it. Someone said it felt like a Clint Eastwood
Mhm.
Yeah.
story. I always felt he was kind of a Clint Eastwood type of character, even from the beginning. And I guess I don't want to say my issue is, but I never was a Clint Eastwood fan, really. You know, so like I like some of his stuff, some of the older, you know, westerns and things that he's done. I got into, but I'm not like a big Clint Eastwood fan. So even seeing the character and knowing him, I just, you know, I've always related him to
Mhm.
it, you know, and that's
Well-
kind of where my if you want to say I have an issue,
No,
but
I,
I
yeah,
I really
no,
don't.
man, you're not the only one who has an issue with that character. I always thought that he was always good picking up. Like he's the classic. To me, he wasn't even. He was cool, but he was also a bully, like a classic
Yeah.
bully. Like he was always there to shoot like unarmed people who was beneath him. But when
Yeah.
it always comes to like the big guys, yeah, sure, he did fight them and he did win. Yeah, he did win a couple of those battles. But in the end, it's always him running away or him getting away because he's outmatched or outgunned, and it's
Yeah.
always him running away. Like every single thing I've seen about him, he and if we're going to go to the last episode, this was probably the best time I actually saw, like, best time I actually liked him in anything.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
And there was reasons for that because, you know, but he was always, to me, he was always like this already black hat cowboy who's always the bully in the town. Like
Yeah.
it's it's a really known archetype. And they just add a little substance to him for the show, but he's always been that like one-dimensional archetype to me.
And
Like,
he really is. He really is. Based on like everything we know about, you know, that particular archetype, he fits the mold. I think that's done on purpose, to
Well,
be quite
yeah.
honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the whole thing I've always felt Star Wars in general, and I think everyone will agree, is a space western. When we saw the Mandalorian, we really saw, I think, for the first time, really saw a nice space western,
Mhm.
you know, come to life on the screen. Then, when you see how they continue in the book of Boba Fett, you know, you're right. He is the black hat, you know, cowboy. He's the bad guy. You know, and I know because of some of the stuff from the Clone Wars, he has a history with Boba. But I'm not, you know, like I said, I never finished. I don't know the whole story. It's just he, you know, until I know more, I guess to me he didn't fit as a character in the Boba Fett series yet.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know enough about him in his background and their history to say they worked well together. Knowing him as the black hat cowboy, I could see him in the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What?
And,
Yeah.
and it was interesting. He was actually, when I was doing a little bit more research, he was probably modeled after the Lee Van Cleef character from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and the other one, the Colonel from For a Few Dollars More.
Yeah.
So kind of like, okay, he's not the main character. He's not someone you're really supposed to like. But
Yeah.
it is interesting because like that one unaired episode, they showed it, you know, like the footage of it, and you can find it online. But it's not technically not part of canon because, yeah, everyone says, oh yeah, that's how it happened, but there's no official. It wasn't like, here's the episode. It wasn't here. You get these references to it because even in the Bad Batch, there's a scene.
Yeah, it wasn't
between
even
him
a short. It
and
wasn't even a Star Wars short. Like it was just basically dropped footage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's we got a little bit of
Yeah.
a little bit of time left because I know Michael has to head out pretty soon. I want to get to this final episode, right? In the name of
yes.
honor. That was the one that we saw today. It came out, it dropped.
Oh
I
my
saw it
God.
about an hour and a half ago.
Yep.
Okay. All hands on deck on this one. What did you guys think of it?
Probably the best thing ever.
It was a great. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
All I want to say about it is, number one, I loved it. Number two, I think watching Boba Fett and Mando together in that scene where they both come in with the jetpacks just blasting down was one of the coolest scenes I've ever seen in Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was just brilliant. And the last thing I'm going to add is, again, this is a spoiler, so everyone knows we're spoiling it. Grogu comes back.
And he makes his choice, right? We didn't even mention the choice he had to make.
Well, that's the thing. And number one, I don't know if his choice is officially made yet. I know, because they said in the previous episode, Luke tells him, if you choose the armor, you're not going to be trained yet. You're going to give up all this. Or you choose Yoda's lightsaber and you will have this, but you'll never be able to see Mando again. Right?
Listen, Luke Skywalker was heated when he saw Grogu head over to that chainmail. He was heated. He let him go alone. I mean, with R2-D2.
Well, that's the thing. When I saw the X-Wing come down, I'm like, oh crap, we're getting Luke again. Like Luke's coming in, and then they open it. And I'm like, oh man, he chose, and my heart kind of broke a little bit. I mean, it was like.
Mm-hmm. And awesome. You see the chainmail. He shows a little bit of the
chainmail.
He's Yoda's species, man. He could be Mandalorian for 500 years. He could be a Jedi for another 500 years. He could be a Sith for another 500 years, and then he could be like a Redeemer 500 years. And they could also bring he's a long-lived species, man. He could make all the choices he wants.
When talking about Grogu's the one guy that could be a Mandalorian and a Jedi. Yeah, it is possible.
Well, and that's where I think they're going to go with it. That's what I wanted to say. Because what the hell is his name again? The one who created the dark saber.
Arvisla.
Yeah, he was the first Mandalorian to become a Jedi and to be accepted into
Mandalorian Jedi.
Yeah. So who knows? Could be a second one.
So that's what
always be a second one.
Because Luke may not always. Let's be honest. He wasn't the brightest guy all the time.
He's not the best trainer. Let's just face it.
So him leaving. I think and coming back and Grogu coming back is just the beginning. I think Mando's going to see that Grogu needs to be trained, and they're going to have to separate at some point. But I don't know. I mean, Luke kept his attachments. Let's think about it. The
only reason a spade, right?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason he left is because his aunt and uncle died. His aunt and uncle were killed. If his aunt and uncle weren't killed, he would still be on Tatooine.
Not only that, remember, in Empire Strikes Back, he's training with Yoda for how many days, and he has visions or premonitions or whatever of Han or Leia or them being harmed or killed. And he's like, I gotta help them, And then he's like, no way. I mean, you're training this and that. I will be back. I'll be back. Or whatever it be. It's like, come on. And then. Now we see something where I'm guessing he's just, I don't want to call him a hypocrite. I don't want to say that. I think he's having a double standard of, hey, I need to,
No, I don't even think that either. No, I don't think that either. It's like I've done this dance. Yeah. To me, it's like I've done this dance, and this is a decision I made. You're going to have to make the same decision, and it's going to be a bad one. So it's like what a teacher would do is I've done this round. And I'm trying to make you avoid what I went through, the pain, the hardship that I went through. However,
with Luke in particular, he's emotional because that runs emotionalism runs in his family, right? Anakin's the same way, right? So he's a very emotional person. So, the fact that he gave Grogu that choice was another way of saying, you know what? If he picks to stay with me, I'll train him. If he doesn't, he's going to go. But at the same time, he's allowing Grogu the opportunity to make the choice, right? As opposed to saying, you're going to be a Jedi, I'm going to train you, and that's that. He's giving him the choice, where this girl, Osaka, I can never get her name right.
Ahsoka,
thank you. Yeah. She was saying, I'm not going to train him. She straight up was like, I'm not down with that. But Luke made the choice to train him take him in, try to train him. And you know what? He did train him because, boy, that boy is jumping around all over the place now. Yeah. Right? Now, we're going to see in Christmas jumping Grogus now. We're going to see jumping Grogus for Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to see a bunch of fan art of a Rancor monster and Grogu sleeping each other. There's going to be a plushie of those two. We're going to have all those things. Everyone wants one. I'm going to finally find a T-shirt or even a cutesy one because I don't give a damn. I'm going to put, a chibi version of those two sleeping in one. I want it. Hell, I'll draw it and I'll make the mouse.
And lastly,
that is another homage to the older lore that was lost. It's like this whole force ability to talk to, communicate and pacify animals. You see Grogu use it, because that was the other thing that was awesome. The whole Rancor going nuts and King Kong-ish.
Well, I was like, don't King Kong him. I literally said that. I'm like, don't King Kong him. Don't King Kong.
I was honestly.
I saw more Godzilla than the King Kong, to tell you the truth. It felt like Cloverfield all over again.
So when it came to
speak of Cloverfield.
When it came to the last,
I like that movie.
I had honestly, please don't stone me or kick me out, but I had mixed feelings about this episode. I feel like they overdid it with the Rancor. I think. There could have been ways of doing it. I think that they kind of overdid it with the Rancor. I love the part when, and I agree with Michael, with Boba Fett and Mando just going at it. I'm like, oh my god, this is fantastic. Like I was just losing my mind because to me, I thought that's when I saw him shooting and killing people, Boba Fett. To me, that was Boba Fett.
Yeah,
that is the Boba Fett that I know. And that is, I would say, consistent. That's another thing about with the series where I thought it wasn't consistent really much with the character. You could say he was turning a new leaf, and I can understand that. But that Boba Fett that we saw is the Boba Fett that I know.
Well, I think that's what. Go.
I'm sorry. This is the thing. I know a lot of people kind of complained in the beginning of this show, like it's not a good show. I didn't feel it was a Star Wars show for a little bit. I felt, and this is how I watched it, as a mobster movie. Like this is the beginning of a new Godfather coming in, and and when you watch that ending scene, that ending episode, you knew the Godfather was taking his power. He was showing everything. There was a baptism going on at that moment, and that was.
But that's what they were wanting. I think that's what they wanted you to think. And they wanted you to think they was going to go that way. And they changed it up on you, right? Because he ended up being beloved to the point that at the end he's like, "Why is it always got to be the right arm? Why is it got to always be the right arm? Like, why do I have to bow my head and stuff?"
But I mean, it's just showing respect. I mean, it's like going into the Godfather movie and getting some oranges. Well, actually, you don't want oranges in the Godfather movie, but somebody giving him a piece of fruit that's not an orange, but still, that's what it all was. It's just the respect now.
The little bit Robert. And I even think with some of the ones especially I guess prior to watching this, I had finally gotten around to seeing the movie Unforgiven. I guess that's why I've been because there's so much of it when people say, "Oh, that's not my Boba Fett," because he's getting his butt handed to him, and you see he's out of sorts, and you kind of see that with that character, that Clint Eastwood character, he's a little bit older. They call him because hey, you're this really good gunslinger, and then there's this vengeance motive that kind of snaps him, and you kind of see that between the Cad Bane fight, okay, yeah, they fought because they were protecting the town. There was a sense of honor, okay, I have this duty to the people of Mos Espa. But then I think that moment between him and Cad Bane, you see that the rugged Boba Fett that I think we all wanted, because he kind of jabs at those emotional wounds. They killed the Tuscans. You're all old and washed up.
Blew up that club for no goddamn reason.
Yeah.
Listen, Max Rebo, is he alive? Listen, my man, the piano player.
Max Rebo is gone. He's gone. He was there. He was there.
You think?
He was there. I was like, no. I still was like, no. He had to be. Please let him have a night off or something. Yeah, guys. Me and the other guys have a gig across town. Boo! I'm playing. But I was like, nah, dude, nah.
Have you ever seen that episode of Robot Chicken where the guy is in the he gets a promotion we don't understand what he said, but we get the subtitles of him, and he goes, and his best friend's like, "Yo, you gotta come with me. We gotta go to the bar. We gotta celebrate." And he's like, "Yeah, let's go celebrate." And he comes up, and his friends comes up to Obi-Wan and Luke, and that's where we get the moment. He doesn't like you. I don't like. And he's like, "No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said." If you ever get a chance to see that Robot Chicken episode, it's a Star Wars.
He doesn't like you. I don't like you. No, man, that's not
That's not what I said.
No, but there's one with the Robot Chicken where Max Rebo survives from the barge, where he's like, "Oh, come
Max
on,
Rebo's greatest hits."
So I think he found a way.
No,
he's like,
but,
"I've been there, done that. I'll get out. I'll find a way." Or he's maybe indestructible.
That whole scene afterwards, like, here's the thing: 2 things I took away from that. One, my man Kaskin is my man Kaskin. He took on 2 syndicates. He took out the local guys, and then he beat up the while dragging his leg. So that's my takeaway. That's my dude throughout the whole. So that Wookiee is my dude throughout forever. The second takeaway is they were being shot up, and their Beskar armor held up. I mean, they were getting hit.
Mandalorian.
They were just like
the Rancor
there was nowhere they were going. Good thing they had armor.
Because no stormtroopers here.
No stormtroopers here.
Yeah.
These guys were
real. I said, from now on, that's how they have to show armor. Like that's not just Beskar armor. They have to show armor like that. Whatever they're giving the Empire, it's probably plastic. It's like
it's like plastic, right?
Here's styrene. We made them out of styrene, so we might as well say it's styrene. But I'm so convinced right now that all these different groups. Now there's a new vacuum, and so of course, Bubba's going to take that vacuum. However, the Hutts are always going to be in the background. The Hutts is like, this is our space. So we allow you to fight each other and kill each other because we don't care. We still want our money. So I think like next season, it's going to be like, you're going to see him growing as a daimyo. So you can actually see like the Book of Boba Fett too. I'm not sure they're going to do that, but I'm certain that you're going to see a side of like Boba Fett that we haven't seen in a long time. Like he was being very like kiddish, and he was being very like honorable the first few episodes. Now he's like, you know what? I was trying to be the good guy. He was trying to be the good guy. And after the whole thing, he was trying to be like, I'm just here. Everyone just make business. You're going to see like a new, and of course,
he's still a crime lord.
He's still a crime lord. There's some crime lords. Here's the thing: there's some crime lords who want the drama, and there's some crime lords who just like, I want a passive economy. I want you to just give me money, you make your money, and that's it. Exactly. Do whatever you need to do.
Two things that I just want to say too. I think, first of all, I think Fennec Shan. I think Boba Fett should have done what Fennec Shan did. I think he should have been.
Yeah, he should have been the one. I agree.
The mayor, to kill, all these people, the representative to the syndicate in Tatooine and all these places. I think he should have been the one to kill them. Not to mention, like, imagine that we see in like after all that happens, you see the door opens and you see Boba Fett's silhouette, and he throws Cad Bane's body in the room, and he's like, "Listen, you try to do this to me, like, you're all gonna die." And then he just shoots up like the whole place out. Maybe Fennec Shan could be on like next to him or whatever it be. But here's another thing. I think, and this is just my opinion, maybe this could happen in season 2 if there is a season 2. I think Fennec Shan is in it for herself. I think she sees that Boba Fett, listen, I mean, we might see a more mature or just more crime focused, or not crime focused, but more mobster daimyo focused Boba Fett in season 2, perhaps, if we do. But I think Fennec Shan is saying like, hey, this guy's not.
That's a tough one.
He's not he's not as I did him. So she is gonna be the one that's gonna try to take.
I think honestly, that's a tough one because she is a character people like.
Yeah,
and if she's a character people like and have that turn happen, they have to do it. If they were to do that, they have to be really smart about it, right? And you have to plant. I see the seeds that you said that she's going to be starting to plant, which I could see them, right? But
I
what
thought
I
they would have
also
done that
think,
now, where she
yeah,
sees herself like,
I would have seen it
I'm killing the
beforehand.
people, I'm doing this, I'm telling him to do it, and people aren't respecting him. I mean, now they are after we see his rancor like get loose and destroy like a quarter of the city, but like a Marvel or DC movie. But the thing is, I think she's gonna be like, this job isn't as I hoped it to be. So I think I'm more capable or have more qualifications.
True.
Well,
I'm younger.
True. I just think Mando's gonna in the Mandalorian. We're gonna see like things because they said what it's gonna be. It's gonna be, of course, Kenobi. Then they have to do another Mandalorian.
Well, we're gonna get Kenobi. We're gonna get Obi-Wan, which, as Michael puts it, what you said was the date?
May
What was the
25th, anniversary of
25th.
Star Wars, man.
Obi-Wan
Never forget.
Kenobi. So
Geek
that's
Pride
gonna be
Day, guys.
and we're also getting Andor, which apparently has 2 seasons now. We got 2 seasons.
I've not seen anything for like Kenobi. Like I just didn't want to.
I think
see it.
They've been
like,
holding it.
Yeah, I've just been like, I've seen it. No, but if they're like any, I'm gonna hold myself. I'm just not gonna watch it until I see the first episode, and that's how I'm gonna deal with that.
My personal thought is, now that we have a drop date, I have a feeling come Super Bowl Sunday, which is how many days away now? We're gonna see a teaser trailer.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think that's what they said. I think
we're gonna see our first Obi-Wan showing.
I'm gonna say right now, I think people are gonna watch the Super Bowl just for that. That's gonna. I'm kidding.
Also
Sunday.
Wait,
I'm certain, almost certain it's gonna happen.
Did you guys notice maybe it was something on Cad Bane's body, like whatever, like his wrist things? But if you see him, remember when they do that I think the term is a dolly. When they dolly into his face a little bit or go above him, you hear a beeping. So I know
what you're talking about when you were hearing that beeping sound. Like, is he really gone?
So I thought either he's dead or he's like, maybe like, I don't know.
His armor's protected him.
Well, let me ask you this, because I'm sorry, I gotta go in a few minutes. I have a tutoring I gotta do in a little bit. At the end, we see the post-credit scene. We see the cyborg guy preparing someone, and someone's in the tank. Who is that in the tank?
That was Cobb.
Yeah.
Okay. So, which was interesting is that when he was walking with Phoenix Shan, and they were saying about the tank, we assumed it was Black Chrysanthus, right? Because earlier he said, "I'm going to put you in the tank. Don't worry about it, right? I'll take care of you there." Right, so we thought, okay, it's Black Chrysanthus, right? And it was mentioned, it's like, oh yeah, it's being used right now. So it was there for us to know that, oh yeah, Black Chrysanthus is there. But when we get that after credit bit, right? Thank you, Marvel, for doing things like that. Even though it happened before that, but we all know Ferris Bueller. We find that it's Cobb Vanth, and again, it's Boba Fett trying to hold on to anyone he thinks is a friend.
And I think
you know what I'm saying? So he keeps on doing that. He's like, death is not final for him.
What if, because remember, we know that there's supposed to be another series, The Rangers of the New Republic. Since a certain someone is no longer available to play a certain part in the show, the person who
you can say the name, it's okay.
No, I forget her name. That's the thing.
Cara Dune.
Cara Dune. Yeah.
That could always be recast. They could always recast that.
Yeah,
there's a lot of actors who could do that.
What if they have him? What's his name again? Cobb Vanth. Yeah. What if they have him to fill that position?
It'd be cool though to see. It'd be cool to see.
Just a thought. I mean,
but it'd be really cool to see. You see my man Bill Burr reprise his role, even though
he was supposed. Listen, he was one of the best characters in the Mandalorian.
And that was a pretty nice episode too.
I mean, I'm a big fan of his stand-up, but in that show, because he used to talk about how he never watched Star Wars, he didn't get it, he didn't like it or whatever, and then he shows up in it. It cracked me up when I saw that, because I know his history with it. But his character, I think, was one of the best characters, especially when you saw him later on and you learn about his history.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because I am leaving in literally like 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap up pretty soon too.
we didn't talk about one thing in episode 6 that really just shocked me. And I want to get your opinion on it. When Luke was trying to open up Grogu's mind to his memories, and we saw that he was actually at the temple when Order 66 was put into effect. Like, I was just like, oh my god, like he was.
Who were the Jedis, man?
Yeah, he was there, and
He was a Padawan.
oh my
Yeah, but I
god,
was like, who are the Jedis that just killed? Because
that's what I'm trying to figure out. You know?
And
How
then
did he
when-
escape?
that was
I
also
know about the
affecting his
Jedi. I'm saying,
movement.
how did he escape?
Yeah. Well, somebody picked him up.
No, he was taken. He was
Yeah,
taken.
but he
Mace?
wasn't with the younglings.
Mace?
Maybe.
But Mace was. I mean, but is it
The
wasn't
librarian?
Mace, I mean,
No, wasn't
The
by that
librarian?
time Mace was flown out a window, right?
Yeah, but he's
You
not
never know.
gone.
Yeah,
listen,
you never know.
you need 2 hands to pick something up, and like Grogu, I mean, it's got to be said.
It's,
You
I
can
think
pick up
that-
a toddler with one hand.
I don't know. I mean,
he
Luke
was
just
like,
jumped him around. Every Jedi could go.
I'm gonna tell you right now, there was a lot of experimentation done with Jedis
So in
after that
particular-
order. So yeah.
In particular, those 2 episodes that we had, the Mandalorian episode, all they were just episodes to get us to the next series, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what they were. It
Yeah.
was to let us know this is where the character is right now, and this is where we're gonna be taking it. So you don't worry, we know you still love Mandalorian. I will say again, another thing we didn't talk about, which I have to say was one of the most awesome scenes I've seen, was the meat market scene with the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That was cool, yeah.
Sweet. That's how you know he's still badass, right? He has a little heart now, but he still could go, right? That was a cool scene in general, that meat market scene, especially seeing Star Wars in a meat market. You didn't expect that, right? But let's finish up our thoughts, because I want to get Michael's rating system.
Yeah.
So Michael, I'm gonna let you go first. Your overall review, how would you score it? In your way.
Are we talking scale from 1 to 10?
We'll do a scale 1 through 5, because
1 through 5.
that's the Izzy
All right.
way.
I'm going to give the series, because not everything was perfect. I'm going to give it a 4. I think it was a great show. I think everyone who, and I recommend this to anyone who's not a Star Wars fan, because sci-fi just isn't about outer space, whatever. It's a story. Like I said, this one's a mob story within outer space, and if you like that type of stuff, like seeing the coming of power type of things, this is a show for you.
It's a good walking into the Star Wars universe type.
Yeah,
of show.
exactly.
Let's go to Roberto. Roberto, you give me your scales, 1 through 5, and tell me why.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the beginning I probably would have given like a 3.5 the first like 4 episodes, 3-4 episodes. But I think it's like probably like a 4, 4.5, because I think those last 3 just kind of like wrapped it up and brought it together, and
What about you, Lewis? You give me your take. What's
Okay,
your score?
so I need to explain myself. I was expecting a different series. I had a different series in mind, a different Boba Fett in mind. So honestly, I was a bit disappointed from that perspective. I would have given it, and I kind of still feel this way personally, because since I'm so one viewed, or or like focused on that Boba Fett that I knew, I would have given it, and please don't kick me out, I would have given it like a 2.8, because
now you're just going 0.8 now.
Yes, because I thought I was gonna give it a 2, but but 2.8, because I had a different perspective of the character. I thought I wanted to see like a bloodthirsty, very like crime lord focused Boba Fett. Like that's what I honestly thought about. But after hearing Michael, Andrew, Roberto, and you, Izzy, I would give it. I would still give it like a 3.5.
All right.
So
Andrew,
this discussion, which
here's where I go a little bit crazy, because I'm going to be totally honest. I love the entire thing. I love the entire thing, but it hit every single aesthetic note that I wanted. It hit every single ode, an ode to something, an ode to like toys, an ode to no. So like even Easter eggs, and I'm giving it a like let's just say 5 lightsabers. I'm going to give it a 5. You know why I'm going to give it a 5? Because I wasn't expecting much from Boba Fett, because I read Boba Fett in the comics. I read Boba Fett in the series. He was always been that kind of like quiet gunslinger. Like he was literally a blank slate. So
he was whatever you wanted him to be.
He's
Honest.
a blank slate character. So like when I play the video games, when I read the comic books, now the Saturday morning, afternoon Boba Fett that we were getting from Disney, I get it. I understand why they did that. They're trying to make him not. Here's the thing: it's Star Wars. He's a crime boss. He's doing bad things. Regardless of what we're thinking, he is a bad guy in a really worse guy arena. So it's like he's not the worst bad guy out there. He's at least he's at least calm, and he's just falling into those roles. Right now I'm still giving it I'll give it like 4 half sabers, 4.5 sabers, or 4 lightsabers and 1 Yoda lightsaber. So what the hell? Because it's funny. But yeah,
you got 2 sets of sabers.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. Like the artwork, the aesthetic is 1 cool purple lightsaber. I'm just trying to say just like that. They really tried their best to give us like everything they can. The story is good. Kind of felt sad about the Tuscans. I never thought I was going to be feeling bad about Tuscan Raiders. I really never thought I would actually feel bad for the quote unquote bad guys of the desert of Tatooine. You actually made you feel something for when Grogu's given the option, hey, this or that by Luke, and everyone's like, screw you, Luke Skywalker. Like you're not even thinking like you're going to be angry at Luke either. So I'm going to tell you right now, I still giving it even though I'm giving like that 4 out of 5, and the Yoda lightsaber with a purple lightsaber, I'm telling you right now, it's still a solid 5 for me, because just a solid 5, because I got everything I wanted. I've never seen so much attention to detail, and they're trying to give like cool stuff, like, even back stuff, like how the banta was made. You find out it's actually something from the Maori people, and this is how. And also, like my crazy ass, excuse my language, my crazy self. I went back and saw the Boba Fett unmask as well, like the under the helmet. So I saw that too. So I love the design aspect of it. I'm totally for it. Here's the thing: I never really particularly cared for Clone Wars towards like the end of Clone Wars, because they always seem like there's another new Clone Wars, and there's another, and then Rebellion started, and then Rebellion brought in a bunch of new people that we want. So like anyone who's really into like the Clone Wars, that's for any ode to the Clone Wars, that's for the kids who are now in their 20s and 30s. Anyone who's like us, we got our Luke Skywalker, and we're not going to, and we, no lie, we got Luke Skywalker, and we're like, dude, you're going to be a crazy Jedi Master. And I guess that's why we're going to get the movies. Oh, why do we have to tie in the movies at the end? But I like what I saw. Aesthetically, the only thing I had a problem with is just put dust on the damn speeder. That's it. A little dust.
All right. Okay, let me let it go, because I really want to get get Michael get Michael to do his tutoring. So we're gonna wrap up, and we could talk a little bit more afterwards. But
sure.
Let me give you what my take on it. Personally, as a Star Wars fan, coming from where I'm coming from, it was a good show. It was entertaining. I didn't fall asleep. I didn't get tired watching any episode. With that said, I do believe if the show is called The Book of Boba Fett, we should have more Boba Fett.
Exactly.
I agree.
Right?
That's true.
I think they did him dirty especially in episode 6. Well, no, was it 5? Yeah, it was 5.
5 and 6, really.
5 and 6, but more so in 5, where you don't even you see him
They
at
have
a
a Boba Fett
glimpse.
cameo at the end. If you did
He's cameoing his own show.
Yeah.
So that by itself bothered me. I love the episode as a just the episode by itself was good if it was a Mandalorian episode, right?
Well,
but it wasn't. It was
Yeah.
meant to be a Book of Boba Fett. So therefore, what we ended up getting is it was a 7-episode series, but in reality, it really was just 5 episodes.
Yeah.
It was 5 episodes, 2 of which were just there to fill in the blanks, and 2 get you prepared for what's to come. I don't necessarily like that in a show when they do that. I like that in a comic book because the comic book is allowed to breathe that way. But in a show, we could have done it a little differently because it did feel like a Mandalorian episode. Episode 5 was totally a Mandalorian series, right?
Yeah.
From beginning to the very end. And we only get Fennec Shannon right in the end there, right? Doing her little thing, walking in and stuff like that. So with that alone, they lose points.
You know, like the scene with the building of the
Don't get me wrong. I thought the episode was great, but I just think it wasn't a Book of Boba Fett episode, right? It was a tie-in episode. Let's call that, right? Comic books. I don't think they focused a lot on the Cyborg Gang as much. So, and again with the whole situation with the bikers, in particular the bikers, we don't get much, but they come in, they go out, and that's it. And then we find out they didn't really do what they did.
The Batman Beyond crew,
right? The Batman Beyond crew, right? The Jokers. So there was that. I did enjoy watching the evolution of the Raiders, the Tuscan Raiders, and how they were before to what we ended up
the
learning.
humanization,
exactly, turning it into an actual tribe, because that's what they were. They were a tribe in the fullest sense. Certain characters that came out that were, when we at first glance we look at it, it's like, oh my goodness, these guys are going to be awesome. Black Chrysanthemum, when he made his first appearance in episode 2, was fantastic. In episode 3, they kind of herbed him. Right? He didn't feel as bad.
Saturday School Special.
Right? And the same thing with Cad Bane. Cad Bane, when he walked in, you knew he was trouble. And then when you get to episode 7, they had the showdown, but it really didn't feel much like a showdown. It was like bang, 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 bang. Okay, bang. And that was pretty much it. It wasn't like a full, I wouldn't have mind if that was the last fight scene, right? That was the end of it all. You take care of Bane, you're done, right? The Pike Syndicants are over. Now, I did like the team up with the Mandalorian and Boba Fett. I thought that was awesome. That sold for me. And again, the story between him and Fennec Shan was also a good story, which I did enjoy watching. And I got some more insight of what the Black Saber is supposed to be about and things like that. So I am looking forward to the future. I'm looking forward to Obi-Wan. I'm looking forward to Andor, especially since those stories are going to be set pre, A New Hope. They're going to be pre New Hope.
Ahsoka?
Oh, and Ahsoka. I forgot all about that. So those are all shows that I'm definitely looking forward to seeing. My overall score is 3 out of 5 Izzy's, because that's my this is my show and we're giving out Izzy's. If anybody knows me, they know I give out Izzy's.
Listen, have a little statue like the Emmys.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have Izzy smiles, man. Like,
so you know what though, like the next 2 series, I'm not really that excited for, except for maybe
when you see
Kenobi.
The trailers, you're gonna love them.
Yeah,
you guys, I'm sorry, I really have to get going.
Michael, lead us out. Give us your plug-in.
You guys can, like I said, you can find me at my Get in Tune show every Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. You can find it youtube.com/my name, Michael Gracia. All my social media is my name on the screen there, at Michael Gracia, or getintune.net. You can find me on Facebook, and it's TOON, like cartoon. With that, you guys, I got to sign off. Thanks.
Thank you,
Michael.
Fun.
Great meeting.
Do this again
guys.
soon.
I will chat with you guys privately, but I do have to go. I had a blast. So much more I want to talk about. We'll do it in the chat. All right, guys.
Take it easy,
Have
Michael.
a great night. Bye.
All right.
Good night, Mike.
Yep.
All right, Roberto. Let us talk to us about who you are and your plugins.
My plugins, I guess I do some toy photography, some action figure customization. I got a Instagram at Calvo_DIBRO. I guess it's been a while. It's like one of those Jedi name creators, and that's been my handle and email for a while. So yeah, I mean, one of the things that I'll show because you asked me
I want to see
wish
it.
list for Mandalorian Season 3 is the Mythosaur.
Fantastic.
He fell off.
Did he fall off?
After seeing kind of that statement about the rising Mythosaur, I was like, you know what? I've been thinking about doing this for a while. I just finally had to do it.
Awesome.
You know,
Awesome.
Thanks,
there's
Robert.
some like art out there. You know,
Lewis.
kind of like teasing Season 3. I don't think it's official or anything, but I said, man, if they make that happen, a Mythosaur, people are gonna lose it.
Awesome. Lewis, tell us a little bit about yourself before we close out.
I mean, well, there's nothing really much to say about me. I mean, I'm a nerd person. I like Star Wars. I like Star Trek. I've recently got into Batman and some other comics.
Oh, we could talk about Batman all day with me.
Oh, no, yeah, of course. So I've just been assimilating DC mainly. I like Marvel, but I just think DC, I like their content more. Not like what they show or premiere, but just the stories like in the comics. I just prefer those stories more personally. But if you want to find me on Instagram, I am at Reconstruction99, but not how you spell Reconstruction, but like Puerto Rican. So the Rican and then Struction.
Okay.
Awesome. Andrew, your turn.
Oh, hi, Andrew Frank Rodriguez art. If you want to find me, you can look out Andrew Frank Rodriguez art. I'm already doing my third DM Guilds game. I'm actually doing a Dungeons and Dragons campaign right now with another group of people. So yes, I've actually finally put my foot into the gaming world, which I've always wanted to be. So I play Dungeons and Dragons. I do Dungeons and Dragons commissions. If you want your character drawn, if you want your maps drawn for your worlds, or even maps for your games, that's where most of my talent does. Gaming assets like armors and potions and how to draw your sword, or anything personal, I do that. But yeah, the three books I want you to look at. First, it is it's Boss Rush 2000XX. Can be found in Drive Through RPG. Second one is Covenant of the Kyber Mark, which is GM Guilds Lab, and it's a book for the Eberron setting of Dungeons and Dragons. Third one I'm doing right now is going to be called Water West Bay, and it's going to be an independent city, and that's also follows the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rules. I hope you enjoy the fact that I'm doing other RPGs as well, so I'm doing like 2 others, and I'm also game testing and on a channel for Black Magic. Bloodlines of Black Magic. Bloodlines of Black Magic, it's pretty much supernatural American cryptids on like just horror RPG. And it's one of those RPGs I've been wanting people to play. And yeah, those are my plugins. If you're looking for me, again, Andrew Frank Rodriguez art. You can always Instagram message me. If you know me, you could talk to Izzy if you want to find me. I'm hopefully could go back to do some more episodes with IzzyVerse. I really love this, and I like the fact that I get to talk about Star Wars. Huge wrestling fan, huge geek fan, and you could tell I pulled out a book from the 70s. So I'm a huge sci-fi and sci-fi fantasy fan. So yeah.
Okay, so we're going over 2 hours right now, so we're gonna close out right now because they're talking about wrestling. AEW's on now, so we got to see who's opening the forbidden doors. We're hearing, but I just want to let everybody know I have not forgotten about the Cad Bane drawing. What I want to do is I want to give people the chance to win this drawing, and the way you do it is by leaving a comment in the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Our goal is to hit 100 subscribers. And right now, as we stand, we're at 92, guys. So we're knocking on that door. We're 808. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your grandmother, tell your grandmother's dog. Everybody, subscribe to the IzzyVerse. Get your chance to win this drawing. I wanted to give it away today, but I want to give people the opportunity to win this. So you're going to have to do the work. Go into YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, and enter in a comment at this video. You could do it in this video. You could do it in any other video. I'm going to give you guys that opportunity to do it so you can win this drawing. And trust me, there's more to come. So if you subscribe to the IzzyVerse, you're going to get the opportunity to win this drawing as well as other things that we're going to be giving away. I know my good friend Nate Melendez, he's going to also provide us with a drawing this Friday. I'm not sure exactly if he's going to do it, so I'm going to keep it hush-hush for now, but he is going to provide us with some free merch that we could win from the IzzyVerse. Again, trying to make it to 100. We are knocking at that door. We could do this, guys. Let's make it happen this week. All right? We do that. You could do it. And as well as you can see in the scroll that's coming in, this Monday, we're going to have our interview with Jamal Eigel. And I'm letting you guys know also, we're going to be talking to some of my Pronto originals. Andrew, you're a Pronto alumni. We're going to be talking to some Pronto originals next week.
Bring me in, man. I'd love to speak to the guys.
You're coming in for the next round. These are the original, the core members, the first one. So I'm looking forward to that interview and talking to all the guys and, going back. We go back about 12 years and so. So again, get your chance in, subscribe to the IzzyVerse, get people to subscribe, and we make it to 100 this week. I promise I will give this away for all of you. Guys, it's been a blast. I had so much fun with this. Yeah. I promise you guys, we're going to be doing this again. We're doing one for Batman coming up. We'll do something for Moon Knight as well.
Wait, quick question. Would we see that together? Or is it independent? Batman.
The Batman?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. I know it comes out March 6th, I think it is, right? Tickets
it's
go
just
on
around
sale.
the corner.
Tickets just went on sale tomorrow. Tickets go on sale tomorrow.
Yeah. What? Oh my God.
Yeah. Just remember, tickets go on sale for the Batman. I'm curious. I'm not a big fan of what they did to my Riddler. I don't know why. I don't like the way
I do not like what they did to Riddler.
I don't like that look. Neither. So hopefully they fix it, but I don't know. But guys, I'm gonna let you guys go. It's been a blast. I'm gonna end this broadcast again. I want to thank everybody here: Roberto, Andrew, Lewis, Michael, as well. You guys have been great. Also, I want to thank my partnership with Squiggy Dugout Comics. All right, they're found in New Rochelle. Squiggy Dugout. You can go to New Rochelle, and they have a great book sale. So go to them. Tell them Izzy sent you, and you will not be disappointed. It is definitely a comic book store. So it's not a little bit of comic books. It's all comic books. Nice. So go check it out. Also, this Friday at 6 o'clock, I'm going to have my interview with Nate Melendez. Go check it out. Again, he's going to be giving away some art as well. And his art is gorgeous. He just came out with a new Vampirella cover that was done by Dynamite. He's selling it. It's out there now. It's an exclusive. And we'll see what happens there. Everybody else, man, you can subscribe to the IzzyVerse. You can come to the IzzyVerse right there. Subscribe at the IzzyVerse. Right there, you have the QR codes if you want to become a Patreon, if you want to support the IzzyVerse, and you could also give a donation in the GoFundMe app. I'm working on building my equipment so we can have a lot more of these. These don't come easy, but it's been fun, guys. Thank you so much. It's been fun having you. Take care. Love you. See you next time.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Thanks for having us.